let's talk nuts and bolts about what makes a scaled copy a scaled copy. Now, if we're looking at any shape, we can pretty much think of two ways to measure it. We can think of lengths, and we can think of angles. Lengths and angles. And that's about it. Now, lengths can be divided up into a few different categories. Lengths can be talking about side lengths, which is obvious. But lengths can also talk about different things. Lengths can also talk about distances, as in distances of empty space between 2 points in the shape. And they can also be talking about the dimensions of the shape, which in a way is kind of a distance as well. Dimensions. So I'm going to talk about all three of those things. So let's start with length, because I really want to introduce you to the different ways that we can measure length. Now, the first thing is the side lengths. Now, this one is pretty hard because we don't have any vertical or horizontal side lengths. In fact, in our original, we also don't even have all of our points on corners, which could make it a little dicey in order to find any side lengths, even using some of our more unorthodox methods. So instead, why don't we think about distances? Let's think about some distances that we could easily calculate. And the first one that jumps out to me is between D and B, because you can clearly see a line running right through both of them, connecting them together. And furthermore, they are also on vertical lines, meaning that you can easily calculate the distance between those points. So I can calculate 1, 2, 3, 4, and I can say that this distance is 4 units long in the original shape. Now I'm going to take a look at this bigger scaled copy and measure that same distance between the corresponding points of the larger one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that same shape is 6 units long, or that same distance is 6 units long in my new shape. And then finally for my third shape, that same corresponding length, that is only 2 units long. It's only 2 units long. So, based on this alone, if I know these are corresponding shapes, if I know that these are scale copies of each other, then I should already be able to get the scale factor. However, I can also use this in order to figure out if they're scale copies or not. Because once I have a scale factor, then I can use it to troubleshoot other lengths. So let's start by trying to figure out what the scale factor would be if these are in fact scale copies of each other. So we've got our first one is 4, and we've got our second one as 6. And in a previous video, I believe I mentioned that in order to find the scale factor, all you do is you take the new length, the copy length, and you divide it by the old length. In other words, you're finding out how much the difference is between 1 unit of the original length compared to the adjusted length in the new unit. So by dividing our new length by our old one, we end up with 6 divided by 4, or 6 over 4, if that helps. And that will get us to 1.5. And there's our scale factor. We could also say 3 over 2 if we wanted it to be in fraction form. So the scale factor, if this is in fact a scale copy, is increasing in size by a scale factor of 1.5. Now let's compare our original to this guy right here. So we're starting at 4, and then we're going down to 2. So it's getting smaller. And so what we do is we can take that 2 and divide it by the original value 4, and we find out that it's only 1/2 the length, which is pretty obvious now when you think about it. It's 1/2 the length, which means that here's a scale factor of times 1/2. That means for every one box in the original, 1/2 of a box is being spanned in this copy. And we can even extend this idea to going between our first copy and our second copy. We could go from 6 to 2. And we could say that we're ending up with 2 divided by 6, which it'll just simplify down to 1/3. So we could say that the relationship between this scale copy and this scale copy is 1/3. For every 1 unit of length in this scale copy only takes up 1/3 of a box. So much smaller. So the lengths are all going to end up times the scale factor. So we got ourselves a distance. Let's try now to get a dimension. So one dimension that's easy to find is, well, we actually already got the width, since this distance coincidentally is also the width of the shape. But let's find the height. We can go alongside our shape and we can measure how tall it is from its topmost point and its bottommost point. And the reason why we can do that is because the top point and the bottom point are both on lines. So that will help us to determine that the height is, in fact, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units long. And it's okay if we don't know if this point is lined up with this point and that the distance between them is 6. That doesn't matter to us. All that matters to us is that we can calculate the height of the shape. It's 6. Now, if we go and calculate the height of this shape, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this one is 9 units tall. And meanwhile, this guy, 1, 2, 3. This guy's only 3 units tall. So now we'll ask ourselves, is the relationship from 6 to 9 multiplying by 1.5? So we can just as easily, just like before, we can take 9 and divide it by 6, and we should end up with, ta-da, 1.5 again. And just to make it so clear, we can start with the 9, and we can go down to 3, and that means 3 divided by 9 equals 1/3. So once again, we have confirmed the relationship. At this point, we are basically at the point of knowing that these are scale copies. But there's still one more thing we should address. We never had to address the side lengths. It's okay. We got distance length, we got dimensional length. As long as we figure out the relationship between the angles, we should be in good shape. Now, what should the angles be in scale copies? We've talked about this before. They should be the same. So they shouldn't increase or decrease at all whatsoever. That's what makes scale copies look like scale copies. They have the same angles. Now, I've got myself a handy-dandy electronic protractor here, which isn't actually all that handy-dandy. It's actually a pain in the butt, compared to a real protractor. If I could easily just take a real protractor and put it on here, I would. But let's use our electronic protractor for now. And the first thing that you want to do when you're putting on your electronic protractor is pick an angle. I'm going to pick this angle right here. Boom, boom. That's the angle that I'm picking. Now, if I want to measure its rotational angle, my first step is going to be to stick the vertex right in that hole in the middle, which I did already. My second step is to turn my protractor so that the straight edge is lined up perfectly with one of the legs, of my angle. So there, that looks pretty perfect right there. I've got a direct line from the hole down one of the two legs of my shape. At this point, I'm basically done. All I have to do is read it. If I look down the other leg, which is, of course, underneath the protractor, then whatever number I'm seeing that line go through, that is the measurement of my angle. My angle measures start at 0 right here, and then they go up, 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 up. And what number did we land on? We landed on 50 degrees right here. So I've successfully measured this angle. Now, if I take my protractor, which fortunately is already in the proper position, and I bring it over to my next one, line it up once again, where do I end up? Well, going from 0 over, and sure enough, what number is the line going right through? It's going through 50 again. So you get the idea. If you are able to measure each of the angles of the shape, and they all are the same, then you have proven through the consistency of the scale factor plus the fact that the angles are all the same that you do definitely have a scale copy on your hands.